Good morning. Welcome to the Minnesota Aspirations in Computing Rising Star event. I'm so excited to be celebrating with all of you today. I am Kate Agnew. I'm Senior Manager of Platform Engineering at Optum. I first got involved with this organization back in 2011, just after I had graduated from college. I started my career in the Technology Development Program at Target, which is a rotational program very similar to what we have at Optum today. But I didn't know that I was going to end up in technology when I was in school. I didn't actually know what I wanted to do. And it actually wasn't until my senior year, April of my senior year of college, when it dawned on me that I should get a job and plan for my life after school. The math department where I majored sent out an email for everyone about an open position at Target. I actually thought that they were hiring a lot of people, and it wasn't until I was in the final round interview that they revealed they only had one open position left. Most hires were done in the fall. So store that tip away when you are looking for internships and jobs during college. Most of that hiring is done in the fall. I didn't know what a career in technology would look like. I thought I could do it, one, because my dad worked in technology, and two, because I built a fantastic Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen fan website on GeoCities using HTML. None of those references probably make sense to you, but regardless, I was hired into that position at Target. Soon after, I began to see how few women worked in technology. To me, I guess it kind of made sense. I had my own stereotypes in mind about what working in technology meant. I envisioned men coding in a dark basement, drinking Mountain Dew. It was then, though, that I got connected with the organization called Girls in Tech. It's a professional networking organization for women working in technology. And then they also do outreach to get younger girls, middle school, high school girls, engaged in technology. After a few months of being involved with that organization, I actually took over as the managing director. And that's how I've got connected to Minnesota Aspirations in Computing. After a few years at Target, I decided to pursue a full-time MBA program. I wanted to get my master's in business administration. I didn't know exactly what the immediate job outside of business school would be, but I had, and I guess I have, aspirations of being a CIO or a CEO. I knew that having an MBA would help me get there. I obtained my MBA from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and while there, I explored other industries. My internship during the summer between my 2 years of business school was at DreamWorks Animation, where I served as a brand manager over the Voltron line. I realized that marketing wasn't for me, yet it wasn't until I took on a few other jobs that I realized that technology is for me. What does that mean for all of you? One, you don't have to know now what you want to be when you grow up. Sometimes I'm not sure I know what I want to be when I grow up. Two, it's okay to explore. Use this time to learn about what interests you. You feel proud when you don't identify, or when you identify things that don't interest you. That should be powerful knowledge, and that shouldn't feel like a failure. Three, it's never too late to change your mind. You might laugh when I say this, but I'm still relatively young myself. If I decided to pivot into finance, let's say, that would be okay. I don't want to, but careers are lifelong endeavors, and you aren't married to any one specific path, especially not the one you begin directly after school. MNAIC is important to me because I want to see more young women pursue careers in technology. Technology has been so fulfilling to me, and if it's the right path for others, I want those people to explore it. MNAIC is important to Optum because diversity is important. People from different backgrounds bring different thoughts and ideas to the table. Today, there are still not enough women in technology, and programs like this encourage that. Working with young women, especially my interns this summer, light my world of technology because I'm reminded how many great ideas come from these new perspectives. We have a great celebration planned today. We will hear from MNAIC partner Anita B., 2 engineers at Optum, our 2 summer interns, and Senior Vice President of Platform Engineering and Practices, Heather Mickman. But before that though, let's celebrate and congratulate each of our honorees. There were 37 Rising Star honorees selected this year. Today, 14 of the awardees are in attendance, along with their family, friends, and sponsors. In the next 2 slides, the names of the honorees in attendance today are featured in color. Sharon Burry, Rachel Duchesne, Aditi Edpanganti, Gianna Frecking, Lucia Hadsall, Mary Hendrickson, Akansha Kananini, Claire Mortz, Carolyn Pertil, Nia Rudd, Prudence Russell, Shrishati Wananathun, Emma Veldis, Ashley Villar. Thank you all for being here today, and congratulations on your impressive technology achievements. Your many fans, present company included, are excited to see how your bright futures unfold. I'm now pleased to welcome Sona Manian of Anita B., a fantastic partner of ours. Sona, please take it away.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Thank you all for inviting me here today. And like Kate said, I am Sona Manian. I'm one of the community leaders here in Minneapolis for Anita B. And one thing that, I want to say is I work right now as a senior data scientist at General Mills, but it's not always been that way. I loved what Kate said. It's never too late to change your career. But before I go ahead and speak a little bit about myself, let me congratulate all the award recipients on behalf of Anita B. You've achieved so much, and it's an honor to be here with you today and share in your success. Thank you, organizers, for inviting us here to be part of this ceremony. So as I read through your biographies, your resumes, and your achievements in the booklet that was given to us, it is so impressive what you've done. And it's not just impressive that you've gone into technology, but it's very, very impressive what you've given back to the communities that that you support, that the communities that you're from. I hope as you grow as leaders, you continue doing that and you continue giving back. Congratulations once again. And congratulations to everyone who supports you, your parents, your mentors, your teachers. It's very, very important. Like one of the quotes that I saw in the booklet was from Melinda Gates, where she was saying that it's somebody lights that fire, right? I'm so proud of everybody who's there with you, helping you through this achievement. So a little bit about me now. Like I said, I work as a senior data scientist. It's not always been this way. I'm a returnee to work. I was a stay-at-home mom for 12 years. And like I said, somebody lit the fire. I went to North Hennepin Community College just to take a class and see if I can go back to school. And there, one of the professors, one of the teachers talked very frequently about technology being important in the math class. And I was like, hey, and he encouraged us to code on our calculators, to have little snippets of code on our calculators. That's how my technology career started. I went back to school, did an MS in software engineering, took every possible internship I could. So you don't have to really, really know that you want to be in technology in the very beginning, but like keep your there are so many opportunities, but technology is certainly a very big part of that ecosystem today. And so proud of all of you for deciding that, like, hey, I want to try this and I want to go into this. And one stats that I read today was that even today, with a lot of STEM fields having a 1-to-1 ratio of gender equality in undergrad, engineering and computer science still lag behind, and it's 1-to-4. So I hope we can change this, and we will build technology that reflects the people who use technology. And that is the mission of Anita B. Let me talk to you a little bit more about Anita B right now. I think we have a few slides on Anita B. So, so Anita B, our vision, our mission is to reflect, for technology to reflect the people who use it. So, which means that we encourage diversity in technology, we strive for gender equality. And the Minneapolis chapter of Anita B is very active here doing this. And we have leaders, community leaders who are part of large organizations who represent who strive to achieve this diversity. And like, I think we have a slide with our leaders on it, so I can just introduce those of whom who are not here today. There is Tara Sigelmeyer, who is Director of Engineering at HPE. Then we have Ashley Monset, who works at Target and who is a lead recruiter there, and Harpreet, who is a Director of Digital Products and Analytics at Star Tribune. Now, now a little bit about like how one of the big events that Anita B does every year is the Grace Hopper Conference. And Grace Hopper is, it's one of the largest technology technology conferences in the world. Last year, we had over 25,000 women gathered together, women technologists gathered together in Florida, celebrating diversity and diversity in technology. And as students, I would encourage you to look up Grace Hopper, especially for the like, not just that you get encouraged by the role models that you see there, but there are a lot of scholarship opportunities which is sponsored by the larger tech companies and also other companies around. And what this, but being there as a scholarship attendee means is that you get access to mentorship opportunities, you get to interact with some of these technologists, and you also have opportunities for internships at these large technology companies which have so many programs that will take you to different careers in technology. So it's not just about sitting behind a computer and coding. It could be about product management. It could be about recruiting in tech. It could be about marketing in tech. But there are so many opportunities out there. I would encourage all of you to look up the scholarships there, and also about attending Anita B events. And also when you go on to universities, look for your local chapter and also for chapters of Anita B within universities. So another thing I'd like to also talk about a little bit is the BRAID program, which is essentially encouraging that pipeline of undergrad students coming into computer science and technology careers. And like I said earlier, it's only about, about 1 in 4 people who go in a computer, when you go to a computer science class or engineering class, only 1 in 4 of those students are women. And as technology becomes a part of everyday life, you want to be there driving the changes. You want to be there making sure that it's not biased against a particular community, a particular gender. You want to make sure it reflects the people who use it. So I encourage you to become part of this. And this is the commitment that we have to trying to build a diverse tech community. And I think with that, I'd like to congratulate all of you once again for this great achievement. And I will close with that and quote from our, close with this quote from Brenda Wickerson, the president of Anita B. Thank you.
Thank you, Sona, and thank you, Anita B. Now, I'm pleased to introduce the keynote presentation. We'll have 2 speakers today, and throughout each of those presentations, honorees are encouraged to ask questions through the Q&A function at the bottom of their screen. These questions will be addressed by the speakers after both have spoken. Everyone is welcome to leave comments in the chat function as well. Our first speaker today is Serena Titi. Serena is a software engineer on the healthcare platform team. She joined Optum in 2017 in the technology development program and is passionate about security and mentoring the next generation. Welcome, Serena.
Thank you, Kate. Can everyone hear me? Well, hi everyone. I just feel so honored to be speaking in front of you, as just seeing the just distinguished technologists in the crowd. I am sure you will help usher in the next era of technological enlightenment in your futures. So I have some slides. That's me. So about me, so I grew up in the Twin Cities. I went to Hopkins High School and U of M. I say go Gophers, even though I have not really attended that many games just because I'm not much of a sports person, oddly enough. So I was an electrical engineering major, and that's why I find the degree kind of hilarious, because it's a BEE, or Bachelor Electrical Engineering, and I just think it's funny because it makes me think of bees. And then, fun fact, I was a French minor, actually, in addition to doing my electrical engineering major, just because, my family was Creole. I wanted to learn French, and then just kind of fell in love with the world of French literature. And since then, I've always kind of approached technology through the lens of the humanities. It helps me be more effective as a technologist. It helps me be able to argue and articulate my points and designs. And it has really helped me advance in my career, especially the kind of ever nebulous terms of soft skills, which are very important. So my interest in technology was when I was super young. My dad was a sysadmin at Rupp. I think it's Temp Air nowadays. And this is early 2000s, and I've always had custom-built computers, including old-school motherboards that had plain PCI, not PCI Express, old-school PCI. And since then, I've just always had custom-built computers, and the hardware was just so interesting that I started really thinking about technology as a career, because again, I was really into the humanities, but I also loved technology in general, just because, it was a YouTube video a while back from Global Foundries, one of the largest manufacturer of semiconductors, where it was going through the whole process of how you take in enormous tons of sand, boron, phosphorus, and you end up through all of the industrial processes turning that into a working CPU, or as the internet likes to joke, sand goes in to this magical factory and we teach sand to think. And I was like, wow. And also seeing the cool pictures of CPU dies, I was like, cool, all right, sign me up for that. So my original goal, electrical engineering. That's the classical way to get into hardware. Do a bunch of undergrad, and eventually I take my um, large scale into integration, or VLSI. And turns out I hated hardware. The software was just absurdly just kind of obtuse. I just didn't quite get it. Of course, this was a graduate level class that didn't have semiconductors as a prerequisite, even though it really should have. So I'm going through just dreading it. I kind of bombed the last project. I was building, oh, hey, build an adder. Adding binary numbers should be easy, right? Turns out to do that efficiently, that is actually kind of difficult and very large. And if you don't have a good grounding in semiconductors or knowing how to lay out all of your metals, it gets a little complicated. So, another career pivot. I was like, all right, so hardware, not for me. No big deal. Let's just move on to... Oops, sorry, my speaker notes are just not quite cooperating with me. There we go. So, I was like, all right, let's do embedded system design. As an electrical engineering major, I programmed. I knew a lot of C. I was pretty comfy in it and was like, I can just hack that. And side note, I have a love-hate relationship with C. It lets you do a lot of things that are kind of terrible. And unless you're doing embedded systems or firmware development, just sidestep that or learn something modern like C++ or Rust if you really need to go that route. So I was like, all right, let's go into the embedded systems world. And I think, as Kate alluded to, that a lot of companies do their hiring in the fall, because I was doing my job search in the spring, and that was kind of tough to just send out like a bunch of applications and get a bunch of rejection letters for the companies that were nice enough to send me one. And so I was like, all right, let's just do basic software development. Broadens the market, it's less niche, plenty of demand, and had to be just very persistent. Just because, again, my tech skills, they were there. The soft skills on knowing how to interview, not quite there yet. Learn that it's all, it's more than just raw technical knowledge. And then just kind of want to cover my kind of greatest hits at the time of working at Optum. Was I got to speak at DevOps Days Minneapolis last year about security logging, and that was kind of a just wild experience for me, because I got up and spoke in front of, I don't know, at least 400 people. I think that conference gets a lot more traffic than that. And who knows how many people were watching the live stream, because DevOps Days is just a wee bit important of a conference in that space. And then also what I'm working on now is building out an observability platform to enable our developers to debug their code, see if everything is working fine, and defining what is normal for their applications to see, hey, is my service happy and healthy? Is it operating? Is it behaving correctly? Is it serving the right data? And just kind of fun thing is, I like my job, I like my day job, and it provides me plenty of funding for my side projects, which I host in the cloud, because, again, I don't know about you, I don't have $5,000 to drop on servers at home. So I was like, I'll just rent them from Google. And, cloud compute, it's not cheap. You got to pay those bills when they come a knocking. So, next slide, please. Just kind of talking about my time at Optum. So again, I eventually had to get to Optum, and kind of a rough job search. And fortunately, Optum was still had a really large presence in the spring in terms of hiring. So, get to the interview. It was like, yes, all right, I got to the interview. Foot's in the door. Things are looking nice and rosy. And it was like, okay, standard interview questions like, oh, what are you studying? What do you want to do? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Etc. And then kind of got through those and talked about, well, what's your favorite class? And I was like, oh, I like operating systems. Like, I just got back from writing a web server, and that was kind of cool. And person was like, oh, I was also an electrical engineering major and took operating systems here. Oh, hey, who's your professor? And I was like, oh, yeah, I have Wiseman. He's like super great. And then we spent the rest of the interview just kind of talking about how much we hate C. Because again, it's kind of terrible. And then, did well at the initial interview, got to round 2. And I was like, all right, things are looking up real good. And I landed the internship and I was told, oh, hey, you'll be working in security for the summer. Great. I was like, I do low level stuff. I can do security stuff. I think this might have been around the time that the Spectre and Meltdown vulnerabilities weren't that far in the rearview mirror. So, get to Optum that summer. By the way, commuting to Plymouth from St. Paul to Plymouth on a bus, kind of a brutal commute, but I made it work because got to get that experience, got to get that money. And so I kind of get a pretty cool slice of security. I started working on, all right, let's clean up. Hey, we have all of our IP addresses, but the data is super not standardized. Could we make it better? And I was like, all right, I can pick up some Python. I can do some nice text parsing. So go through, start learning how to clean up some data. And then one of the other projects was like, oh, hey, we get this vulnerability data from NIST. And we have these things called CVSS ratings, and that stands for Common Vulnerability Scoring System. It's kind of a scale of like, on a scale of 0 to 10, how bad is this vulnerability? With a 10 being, oh my god, this is terrible, please fix it immediately, to 0, it's a nice to have. Get around to it when you can. So, kind of this hacky thing I wrote in JavaScript because I did some front-end programming. I think, like Kate mentioned earlier, like doing a bit of HTML, a little bit of JavaScript is what gets you started in kind of the tech world, one of the paths. And it was the hackiest, poorly designed thing I have ever written. And I'm so thankful that the code, since it was so grimy, is no longer in existence because it's either the SharePoint server doesn't exist anymore or everyone forgot the SharePoint site even existed. So off my plate, but it was a little web app I wrote from scratch of, hey, sometimes we need to do overrides because there's new information that comes out that the data feed didn't quite update us. So, this whole thing, a bunch of drop-down menus, point and click, and you would get this giant blob of XML, which again, I did all that logic by hand. PSA, don't do that by hand. Get a library. It'll let you go a lot faster. And so you would grab the XML, copy and paste it, copy it into a text editor, save the file, upload it to a server, and then something would come by and scrape it every 5 minutes or so. Kind of hacky, but it worked. So I just kind of rolled with it. And then the super cool thing was, so I get to school, summer was over. I got to finish up my senior year and get a call from the recruiter saying, hey, we want you to come on full time. And I was like, yes, sign me up. I don't want to do another job search during senior year because I did one already and it kind of was terrible. So I was like, all right, job's in a bag. I just got to graduate, which was essentially just have a pulse. And then get to the next summer, I start full time, and technology development program, you have 2 6-month rotations through various parts of the company, and then you get your final placement. So my first rotation, I'm back in security. But it was a lot of what I kind of termed classical kind of operations work, where you get together, you have your status meeting, and then you go, we were doing a lot of data entry. We also handled our kind of two-factor kind of RSA key fob, so that had to actually be packaged and put into an envelope by a person, and person was me and a few other people. So I was like, but I also had to do a bunch of password resets, and kind of working those kind of help desk sort of tickets like really helped me develop a lot of those soft skills of like talking to customers, like helping them out, like provide like troubleshooting. And then that paved the way for me to go to my second rotation, which was a pretty big shift, because it was like, hey, let's go do some software development. So I get there, and there was a job posting that was titled, that had the description of build streaming applications and REST APIs. 5 words, and I kind of was like, I'm intrigued. I need more information. And I chatted with Kate at the career fair and got all of the details on how kind of healthcare platforms started going, and I was just spending a bunch of time on Wikipedia looking at all the technologies. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll take a chance, roll the dice on a 5-word job description. And I had to learn a bunch of stuff. I had to learn Java. Never did that outside of a school project, and I will say industry programming is a world apart from academic programming. So I was like, I had to learn a bunch of tools. I had to learn how Gradle worked. I had to learn how Jenkins worked. Kafka, Cassandra, all of the data platforms we're building upon, and then Kubernetes. And I kind of say in this, like, one of the things that my kind of education kind of left out was your software, you build this thing and it's great. It has to live somewhere, though, in order to do useful work. And for us, Kubernetes was one of those places. So pop on Google, pop on YouTube, kind of get some good info. So I get working, and I was like, I wish I had metrics to tell me that our stuff was not behaving properly. So get started, download Prometheus. It's an open source kind of monitoring solution. And that got me down the path of being a site reliability engineer, also known as kind of SRE. I found that out at the evaluation part at the end of the rotation, and learning that, oh, this is a thing. That's the word for what I do. Great. And I kind of say, for those of you, kind of not in the know, I believe SRE, I kind of describe it as the lovely art of keeping systems running without bursting into flames. So I spend the 6-month rotation building out the monitoring platform that's still running today, and actually causes me a little bit of some headaches still at the present moment, but that's kind of part of my current work. So final placement, I was like, back to security, because again, I still lived in security land. Took a chance and built out another Kafka platform, because there were some things that we needed that weren't kind of available with the enterprise offering. So start building that out, build it a bunch of clusters, and keep monitoring all of them. And I was kind of told, hey, you get a bunch of creative control over the architecture, because this was entirely greenfield. Everything has to be written from the ground up. This was super new, and I was like 23, and it's like, wow, I get this much control? yeah, sure, let's roll with it. Let's see what we can do. And went through, automated everything because as a human, I am fallible. I will make mistakes, and the repetitive kind of things about setting up a Kafka cluster is best left to the realm of machines. So, and then this was kind of the project I spoke about at DevOps Days, talk about security logging, making it all real time. And apparently there is a large appetite for that kind of content. People are really interested about how to do logging, which sounds kind of odd, but people are really into it, and I think it's a pain point for a lot of people. So here's what I'm working on currently. So today, I ended up back in kind of platform engineering and practices because kind of heard through the grapevine, kind of word on the street, Kate and Heather were looking for site reliability engineers. They wanted to build out that function. And I say, hey, this is an area I want to get into. Can I come back? A few months later, some paperwork, back and forth. Get back, come back into the fold, building out the observability platform, and pretty much just taking in all of that operational data, giving it a home, and letting our engineers actually be able to ask questions of their data and figure out, how is my code behaving? Is it behaving right? Is it behaving normally? Is it abnormal? Is there like a super slow code path? Which is all valuable information. And especially kind of in our architecture world where you have like one service talking to maybe 5 to 10 different other services, the debugging gets kind of weird. Everything's distributed and wonky and different from our classical understandings. Yeah, and then besides kind of our observability platform, which again, I am intending to replace the existing metric stack that I started during my internship, I get the pleasure of automating, redesigning, and then ripping out the old system and putting the new system in. And that is super exciting for me. And then at home, I also do a lot of coding. My wife gives me a lot of crap saying, wow, you got off of work and you go back to your second job, which is all my home infrastructure. And like my shirt says, I'm straight out of the cloud. I run all my stuff in the cloud because, again, servers are expensive. I don't want to drop $5,000 on a server rack and a bunch of compute. I'd rather pay the 20, 30 bucks a month on my cloud fees. And also, my friends, because of all of we're not being able to hang out with each other in person, with all the social distancing stuff, we kind of built a Minecraft server and hang out in there and like go on fun adventures, and it was really fun. And again, it's the most over-engineered thing because, again, I am lazy and fallible, and if it's a repetitive thing, my first thought is, oh, have the computer do it. That's what they're good at. Play to our strengths. And yeah, it's been a fun project. Like I look forward to working on all of my side stuff. Like actually after this call, yeah, I'm probably gonna go work on my side stuff again. And then kind of my last thing is doing odd, unexpected things with data platforms. So I was kind of like, all right, can Kafka be a database? And looking through the documentation, there's kind of a data store within each consumer of streams data. And I was like, huh, interesting. So start reading more documentation, peeling back the layers and seeing how everything works under the covers. And I was like, this sounds theoretically possible. Is it worth the time? Maybe, maybe not, but I kind of like these things. I think it's good to look at all of the technologies in your stack from a different perspective, a different light. And it keeps the creative juices flowing, And it might be useful for something, or it might not be, but you learned a lot of stuff on the way. And I guess kind of a closing thought is I've gotten to do a lot of interesting things, and again, just kind of doing unexpected things, looking at things in a different light, has kind of gotten me to where I'm at today. And again, kind of a really cool, bright future ahead, like the rest of you. So that's kind of all I wrote. So I'll turn it back over to you, Kate.
Thank you so much, Serena, for telling your story. Please capture any questions that you have for Serena in the Q&A function. And now I will welcome Rachel Spatz to the stage. Rachel is a senior software engineer who has already had a few different positions at the company. She also joined Optum in 2017 in the Technology Development Program. Rachel, please take it away.
I'm on mute. Thank you, Kate. It's hard to follow up Serena with all that great technical work experience, but I'll do my best. Once again, I'm privileged to be here. Thank you so much for having me speak to you all today. Hopefully I'll bring some relevant experience, and maybe you'll learn a few things and maybe some actions to take on your own that you can do now to continue either prepping to be in a technical field in the future, or just making sure that you are up to date with technology. So I'll give you a little bit about me, and then I'll talk about kind of what I've learned about myself working full-time at Optum. So I'm from the northwest suburbs of Chicago. I grew up in the Chicagoland area. Great life growing up. My dad, he works at Facebook currently as a semiconductor engineer, but he's only been there for about a year. And so my parents actually live in California in Silicon Valley with crazy expensive rent. But his whole life he's worked at, Intel, Motorola, Philips, and a bunch of different companies doing semiconductor engineer work. And then my brother, he is a year and a half younger than me. He's an electrical engineer from The Ohio State University, and he works at Caterpillar in Illinois. And then my mom is a contractor at Pepsi. She has a food science degree, and she works on product specification. So really cool family with a lot of different experience. I remember in high school, they had a career day where parents would come in and share. My mom did a food experiment, and everyone loved her, and she was such a hit. And I was like, yeah, science. And then I know that, well, my dad, he would do the first robotics. We always would have that giant, I don't know if anyone's familiar with it, but we would have that giant board in our basement. There'd always be Legos on the floor. You'd always be stepping on them, but it was always really fun to always be tinkering around with, rockets or small rockets or drones or whatever my dad decided to buy off of Amazon and, have us play with when we were kids. So really great growing up in that technical environment. But I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be an engineer. I wasn't really sure, but in high school, I was like, I'm going to be an ophthalmologist, which is an eye surgeon. You couldn't move me from doing that. I was stubborn, and I went and worked at an eye doctor's office as just an administrative assistant in high school, and realized that it was really boring, and I didn't want to do that. So it was great to, try out that experience and realize, what, I'm more interested in the engineering side, maybe more of the mechanical. So I thought, I'm going to study biomedical engineering. I decided to go to the University of Minnesota. They have a great program there. And when I got to school, I started to take an intro to biomedical engineering. One of the professors led it, so you could learn about different types of jobs as well as research that you could be doing. And I realized I was like, this is way too much chemistry, and I am in over my head. That is not what I want to be doing, but I'm still passionate about, creating products for people that may not have access to them. I had read a research project of a young adult in college who was doing 3D printed prosthetics for children because children grow so fast and they outgrow prosthetics very quickly, and prosthetics are expensive for adults. So someone had created a 3D printed prosthetics project, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. And I was talking to my career counselor at the University of Minnesota, and I thought, maybe mechanical engineering. And so she brought up mechanical engineering. I was like, all right, let's try this. And then there was a newer major called industrial and systems engineering. No one had ever graduated yet from the University of Minnesota from it, but it had a few students in the major already. So I thought, why not try it? It's got a lot of statistics. It's got some software development. It's got business courses, a lot of process optimization. I thought, you know what? I like solving problems, and this sounds like a good fit. So I ended up switching my major 3 times my freshman year. So you definitely don't need to know what you want to do going in, even though you might be as stubborn as me, and like lots of sessions of calling my parents asking what I should be doing, even though it's you who ultimately gets to make the decision of what you want to work on for the rest of your life. But when I was a freshman, I also lived in the Taylor Living Learning Community. So I lived in one of the dorms in Minneapolis, and our whole floor was students who had engineering majors. So everyone was in the engineering college. We all took the same, calculus courses, physics courses. It was really great to have that community to study with. And there was always people playing, World of Warcraft or whatever they did. I wasn't really one of those people, but it allowed people to get to know each other based off of their interests. And there I did develop a really great community of women engineers, and we still get together today, even after 8 years of being freshmen. And then I also worked for the College of Science and Engineering. I was an administrative assistant for the academic advising and career counseling office, which led me to have some great conversations with those academic advisors and career counselors of how do you prep yourself to have a full-time career, because being a student and being a full-time salaried employee is a very different day-to-day experience. And so they really helped me prep. So I would say get as close to those advisors as you can in college. They're there to help you. They're not gonna, tell you to go in the wrong direction. And then, they have all that training just to help you out. So I ended up graduating, woohoo. But during my time, because industrial engineering was new, I didn't really know what internships applied to me. And so I actually interned at Target as a distribution operations manager. So I worked in the distribution center, big 1.1 million square foot warehouse in Fridley, Minnesota. And I don't know if anyone's ever been to one of the football games at the U and saw Goldie Gopher ride around on that scooter. It's almost a Segway. So we had those. I got to ride those around the warehouse during my internship. But it was very insightful. It made me realize that I don't want to work in a warehouse with set hours, because I worked 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. And I was like, this just isn't what I want to do day in, day out. At the end of the day, you just are exhausted. But the software that we use to track the shipment through the distribution center, as well as working on those soft skills, managing people. I managed a team of engineers who would fix the process lines, and they were all, in their 50s and 60s, and I'm this 20-year-old, 21-year-old girl coming in, having to tell them what they're going to be working on for the day and when to pivot to a different thing. So it definitely allowed me to work on my management and leadership skills. So there's always something to gain, whatever experience that you come out of. So I graduated and I applied to so many different jobs. I think I had 20 interviews in 1 month. It was ridiculous. And then I interviewed at Optum, and they talked to me about this rotational program, and I was like, this is perfect. I'm not 100% sure on what I want to do, but if you're going to give me the ability to try, I will do my absolute best to learn and give value to the company. So I ended up starting there, and my first rotation was as a systems analyst. What I did was some data mapping for we call it the VCC, which is a virtual contact center. So it's the area that runs a lot of our call center applications. And it wasn't the best experience. I definitely was like, I don't feel supported. I didn't like what I was doing, but I knew that I could do anything for 6 months. So again, I always asked, you know, how can I deliver value to you? Is there anything else that I can be doing? Any other training that I can be doing? And I actually started my green belt certification and ended up finishing that. And so, you know, it wasn't a wasted 6 months by any means. I learned so much about the company, and I learned of what I didn't like. To Kate's point earlier, it's so important to figure out what you don't like so that you can get to where you're in a good environment. So I ended up finding a second rotation as a process engineer, and I loved it. I've been in the same area ever since. I would work on DMAIC projects, so it's part of the Greenbelt process, and I would go in and map out processes, find where there is, you know, changes to processes that we could improve, all of the applications that we had. So could we have the application be down for maintenance at a certain time to minimize the users that are impacted? So different projects like that. I got to know a lot of people, and then I ended up working as a data analyst for my VP, doing financial and metric projects. So that was really great just to learn more of the business. But I definitely, my leadership team could see me getting bored after a few months of that. And so they pulled me and started me on some technical programs. So I was doing program management, I was doing solution lead and delivery lead, I guess, responsibilities. So I was managing development teams, which at 24, I was like, okay, I don't know if they know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm just doing this and everyone seems to be happy. So age doesn't really matter. As long as you find mentors and your leadership knows what value you can bring to them, like they're gonna give you whatever you can handle. And you speak up if you can't handle something, and that's something that I've definitely learned, because they'll keep giving you more work to do until you say stop. And then I was a solution analyst delivery lead for, I think I worked on 8 or 9 different projects within a program, and they could see me once again getting bored. I was comfortable because I was in that position for a year. And now I've switched to a capability manager, which is similar to like a technical product manager. So I am currently designing software applications to sell our United Healthcare insurance. So there are brokers, so kind of third-party people who go between employees. So you've got Joe's Plumbing Shop down the street, and Joe's Plumbing Shop needs insurance for his employees. So we have a broker who works objectively across a bunch of different insurance companies, and he'll go to the owner of Joe's Plumbing Shop and say, all right, here's some insurance plans, here's some medical and dental and specialty and plans that may work for you, here are the rates. And they may say, we'd like United Healthcare, we're gonna continue with them, we're gonna enroll our employees in that. And so I'm working on software tools for the brokers to sell the insurance. So how do we give them the best experience of comparing rates and exporting a proposal so it's easy to read? So those different types of things, I really have to think about like the user experience while working on this design, and put myself in the shoes of this broker and think about, what does the employer want? Yes, of course they want low rates, but how do we show them that these are the lowest rates, but also getting the max value for the benefit plans? I'm sure that we've all gotten car insurance or phone plans where it may be the cheapest, but it's not necessarily the best quality. So it's, how do we show that in a wireframe? And then I work with the development teams to turn it into a working prototype. So it's been really fun. Definitely not what I thought I was gonna do 3 years ago, but having those, 4 or 5 positions in the last 3 years, I've found what I like and then what I don't like. So if we want to go to the next slide, I've learned what motivates me, right? So I know that my family, I'm sure, as you can tell, I'm just passionate about talking about them. I love them so much. So those are the things that motivate me. I love problem solving. That's why I loved taking calculus in college, because there's always one answer to problems. So really, how do we find that optimized solution? Definitely part of my major, them drilling that into me. A focused, dedicated team. So I love working on across teams, but I also love working on teams that work on one project only. And that's something that I've learned. When you jump from one project to the next, your mind gets a little jumbled up throughout the day. And so I love working on those dedicated projects. Downtime is really important. You can work for 9-10 hours straight, but when you start off in the morning, you are at the freshest you are because you've gotten a good night's sleep. And, you know, working more isn't necessarily working better. So I do think that, you know, working smarter is better than working more sometimes. And then travel and experience, right? We work so that we can enjoy our time with our friends and family and significant others. So there's a photo of me and my boyfriend. We went to London and Paris right before the coronavirus lockdown at the end of February. So that was fun. And that's us outside of Kensington Palace, where Kate Middleton lives. I'm a big royal fan. So I named my dogs. So those are my parents' dogs that we got when I was in high school. And they're named Kate and Pippa after the Middletons. So I'm a big fan. And then I also have Athleta down there. So I actually work at Athleta. It's a women's athletic clothing store part-time. Just for fun on the weekends. It's really great just to get to know people from different experiences and walks of life. And it also humbles you working in retail. I've worked also in the service industry. So if you have any opportunity, that really does gain your soft skills. And then I love, you know, watching Netflix and eating my Flamin' Hot Cheetos. You know, that's just things that you have to do, whatever makes you happy, cooking, working on cloud infrastructure outside of work, whatever it might be, do that, whatever makes you happy. And then a good working environment, continuous learning, especially as you all are either doing like informational interviews or internships. You're always going to be a continuous lifelong learner. You may not know the technical skills at this current moment, but it's not hard if you have a good attitude to pick things up. Kate and I do recruiting for the technology development program now at the University of Minnesota. And that's one thing that I always tell applicants is that, you know, if you have a willing attitude, we want to teach you all that we do at our company and how to build software, you know, applications that are scalable at our industry level. But you have to be willing to learn and you have to be willing to participate. And then I'm a question asker, lots of analytical thinking. Talked a little bit about putting yourself in the shoes of your customer. I think that's going to be a huge shift, a big digital shift too in the next 10 years or so, making sure that we've got the best user experience, not only at an application level, but getting emails, and do you get the same emails from companies over and over again. So just understanding all those points of contact with your customer. And then flexible work hours. So again, it's really important to understand work-life balance. If you're someone who loves to work all throughout the day, 24 hours a day, good for you. That's not sustainable. So it's really important to take the time off, recharge yourself, because you come back so much more fresh and willing to work hard and produce good quality work. And then we can quickly go through some of my recommended actions. Hopefully this deck will be sent out to everyone, but just some of the things that I've learned over the past few years, whether it was in college and high school or as a full-time employee at Optum. It's really important to, get to know who you are, right? Where are your weaknesses? I know I'm stubborn. That's one thing that I know I need to just be more aware of when I'm talking to other people, or I'm stuck on a solution and someone says mine is better. I automatically default to no, mine is better. And I'm working on that. Building relationships, that's really how you gain the trust of your leadership. I would not have had the opportunities that I've had at Optum without the support of my directors and my VP. It's definitely nice to know that you feel supported, and when you want to take a chance or take a risk, that you have other stakeholders looking out for you. Learning business acumen, that's really important if you want to move up in a leadership or an executive leadership role. You may be in technology, you may be a software engineering manager, but if you don't understand what a quarterly revenue call may be about, I would recommend that you learn about it. Finance drives every business in our entire world, regardless of if we like it or not. So really learn just some of that business acumen, because that'll take you far. The Defining Decade, it's more of a personal book. It was written by a psychologist. It's really important just to like understand why your 20s matter. Don't waste it away doing nothing, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to have your dream job day one. It just means continue to learn and grow. Extreme Ownership, that's a great book. It really just says manage your own actions, because you're the only one responsible. You can't blame anyone else for the work that has been, you know, someone may submit something poor quality, but it's your job to make sure that it gets done the right way. So a lot of great examples, and that was written actually by some Navy SEALs. So you think Navy SEALs might not have any correlation to the technology industry, but it's a lot of problem solving at its best. And then build your resume, a lot of experiences. Like Kate and I go to the University of Minnesota, and I have 200 software engineers with the same exact coursework coming up to me. What differentiates you from someone else? And it's your experiences. It could be something that's formal, like an internship, or it could be something that's informal, like I do side projects on GitHub. I started a club with my friends where we read technology books, or I participate in this program where I am, you know, motivated by other women who are the same age as me, and we're all working towards, you know, technology careers. And then success is comprised of multiple building blocks. If you have one success, it doesn't mean that you're going to be set for life, right? You might be, I remember when I was president of my National Honor Society, and I was like, all right, I did it. And it's like, no, you have to keep going. You have to build upon the skills that you've already have. Otherwise, you kind of fall back into this marshmallow state, so to say, and you don't continually get better, because there are always new, brighter young minds coming up right behind you. So that is the advice that I have, and I think I'll hand it back over to Kate. We're going to do some Q&A.
Thank you, Rachel, so much. I love your story, and I think that it was really great to have Serena, who is someone in the weeds on software engineering, and then someone, Rachel, who has still really great experiences within technology, but on a different side of technology. So thank you both. Let's get into some of the Q&A, so keep those questions coming. The first question that I have is, do you have any advice for how to choose a college? Should these participants be looking at specific programs, so curriculum? Should they be looking at the community? I'll go ahead and I'm gonna throw this question to Rachel first. Rachel, why don't you take a stab at it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am very particular about things. You can't tell I'm a type A person. So I had my spreadsheet of all the colleges that had biomedical engineering majors, and I went through and I knew I wanted to go to a big school. I know Serena mentioned she didn't go to football games in college, but I went to a lot of them. So I was like, football team is required. So a lot of it is the culture and also the education that you're going to get. You definitely want to go to an accredited university with an engineering program, or whatever you decide to major in. It needs to be accredited, because that just means that their curriculum is up to date. Whether it be an Ivy League or a state school, I think that's really just up to your personal opinion of what you want to do. For me, state school, I was able to get a scholarship as well as, you know, pay for it. It was more reasonable to pay for than other, you know, private university per se. So a lot of it is a holistic look at that view, because if the university is accredited, the curriculum is very similar from school to school. Also reach out to the program or the academic advising office. I've definitely talked to high school students who wanted to study industrial engineering, and I gave them my experience as well as some of my peers from my major, because otherwise you don't know, right, what they may go through. every student has a different feel, but I definitely would say go visit. I knew that when I stepped on the University of Minnesota campus that I would go there. I just knew.
Thank you, Rachel. So next question is, how has Optum and the technology development program supported your growth and learning within technology? And I'll give this one to Serena, if you wouldn't mind starting.
Yeah, I will totally go for that. So, kind of talked about it earlier, but like getting to speak at like a lot of these things, I think Kate has hooked me up with speaking here. I did another kind of women in tech panel a couple years ago. And it's just really just getting to know a lot of different people and just kind of knowing like, oh, hey, did you know that this thing existed? No, I did not know that thing existed. Tell me more about it. And I think also just again, speaking at DevOps Days, like a pretty big deal, like industry conference, gave me a lot of really good experience at especially public speaking, because I am a very nervous and anxious person, but over time you do these kind of speaking engagements, you kind of get used to it. Also just, you know, having a good network of like managers and like mentors I've looked up to, and especially like a lot of the really cool senior engineers that I kind of look up to, and it's like, oh, please, and it's like, you know, get a comment on like, oh, hey, I like the stuff, your code, and it's like, oh, you know, it feels like really nice to get recognized by like, you know, again, like managers, engineers that are like, oh, hey, my stuff is good. Yeah, I honestly feel like really supported kind of here at Optum, and happy to be here.
Awesome. Okay, so the next question is looking at advice for all of our honorees today. It's still the morning. What do you recommend either this summer or in future summers while maybe they're still in high school or while they're first starting out in college? What do you recommend they do to gain experience or stay busy during those summer months? And I'll start with Rachel on this one.
Yes, do anything. I would highly recommend don't sit and just watch TikTok all summer long on your phone. But like I said before, I got a job at an eye doctor's office. It was just the eye doctor's office that I had gone to for my, 16 years of life. And they were like, yeah, sure, we're trying to go digital. You can scan in all of our patient records. And I was like, okay, easy enough. And I was able to observe and ask questions as I went. So those different types of opportunities, getting a job in a service industry, and then if you don't get a job or some type of unpaid internship in whatever industry that you're going into, ask people to job shadow. Just spend a day following whoever you want around. I know my dad at Facebook, he's had people who have job shadowed him before. My brother did it while he was in college to understand what type of electrical engineering job he wanted to go into. So it's really, and that's just one day, right? That's so much progress and so much that you can learn in just one day. And then also, keep your finger on the pulse of the new technology that's coming up in the news or other articles that may be coming out from your university's research program or universities you're interested in. So definitely don't just sit back and wait for things to come to you. You have to be proactive in order to continue growing.
Thanks for that advice, Rachel. Serena, do you think that working at home will be the future of technology-based jobs?
Ooh, this is a spicy one. I think so. I know that some companies are kind of the opinion that, very traditional, like you have your office, you come in at 9, you leave at 5. And I think what COVID has shown is that like, that's not really the case. I know like, and it's also like for a lot of people, it's very technologically feasible to work at home, but then also socially feasible on top of that, just because a lot of concern was, well, how do you collaborate if you can't go talk to the person next to you? Um, I know there's a few companies, like I know, like my father-in-law's company are considering just going full remote because they're like, I'm paying so much money in real estate costs that I can't really actually use right now. So what's the point of having it? Um, but I do see that as like a pretty definite shift in like work culture, even if it doesn't quite happen right away. Like this is kind of one of those historical events that there will definitely be a kind of pre-COVID, the way we talk about work, and post-COVID, how we talk about work.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Thank you. So Rachel, this one's very specific. What was your robotic team name?
Oh gosh. I wasn't on the, I was too old by the time my dad started to do it. So my brother was actually the one on the team, but I can't remember it. Oh man, I wish I could. It was a bunch of boys. There was one girl in my dad's last year of doing it, but I think it had to do with something Star Wars related. It's been, I'm old now. I can't remember.
Okay, so I have one last question that I want each of you to answer. Can you give one book recommendation for all of the honorees for them to go and tackle over the summer? Rachel, let's start with you.
All right, so I had a few in my slide already, so feel free to take a look at those. But I would say the book that I read one of the ones most recently was called The Phoenix Project. I can't remember who it's written by, but you'll see it when it comes up. And it's really about a technology company and things aren't going well. Marketing's blaming IT's blaming finance. They can't get enough budget for the resources. There's bottlenecks because one software engineer knows how to do something. And you walk through, it's very easy to read. You walk through the process of, how do we make things more efficient at an IT company? Because we aren't manufacturing. It's not one widget in, one widget out. So it really looks at the whole aspect of a company. It also will help your business acumen. So the Phoenix Project it's a great read and it's relatively quick.
All right, Serena, one book recommendation.
Yeah, grr. I wish I actually decided to bring my copy up because it's in the other room. One of my favorite books that I've read in college, oddly enough, was Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath. I read that in my first year composition class, and it really goes into how to communicate, how to structure your presentations, your writing, even something as mundane as an email versus kind of a very high-level, high-powered kind of presentation to senior leadership. Pretty much just goes into like, how do you communicate your ideas in such a way that they are, as they say, sticky, and that the people you're presenting your ideas to will have that in the back of their mind. Like, and oddly enough, the book itself is very sticky because I think last time I read it was like probably 3 years ago, but I still remember like, again, all of the important bits. And honestly, writing, if you can write and communicate really well, all of the other skills can follow after that. You'll be like set up for a very promising future.
That's great. I have not read that one, Serena, so I'm definitely adding that to my summer reading list. Well, that ends the keynote presentation. So Serena, Rachel, thank you both so much. I really enjoyed hearing both of your stories. Now, I'm pleased to introduce Amy Wang and Katie Liu, our two MNAIC interns for the summer here at Optum. Rising Star honorees, as you advance to higher levels of honor, a paid summer internship may be awaiting for you as well. Amy and Katie will share a bit about their experience and what their summer will entail. And first, we have Amy. Amy, take it away.
Hi, my name is Amy Wang. This year, I was selected as a state winner by Minnesota Aspirations in Computing. I've known about Aspirations in Computing as an organization through friends and computer science teachers at school, but I only applied this year. And almost immediately after receiving the award, I was able to connect with a really warm community of people willing to give women opportunities and support in technology. And that's largely how I got to this position as an intern at Optum this summer. So more about the internship at Optum. I haven't been at Optum for too long, so I'm still learning a lot about the program, projects, platforms, and just the tools here. But the willingness of my team to answer questions and give advice whenever has been very encouraging and has increased my confidence that I can do something for the company. I've specifically been reading about Kafka. It's a distributed streaming platform and has been mentioned by Serena a few times. And it's a main focus of the team. And also metric systems like Prometheus, also mentioned by Serena. My position as someone new to Kafka allows me the unique vantage point of being able to help better improve the introductory documentation that the team has so that future team members and clients can overpass the learning curve quicker and get to the real business. And as I get more familiar with cloud technology and Kafka, I will be able to help improve Kafka from a software engineer viewpoint. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited for everything that I will come to learn this summer. And I encourage all of you to stay connected with your passions. And if that's technology, with this community. Now I'll pass the spotlight to Katie, my fellow intern at Optum.
Hello, my name is Katie Liu, and I recently graduated from Wayzata High School. I want to congratulate all the Rising Star honorees for their strong achievements and promise in STEM. My journey with technology started when I enrolled in an intro to programming class at school. And my first day of C++ was new and challenging, as with learning any new language. And the class itself was huge. We had over 30 students and only 4 girls, including myself. But bit by bit, with the help of my teacher and my many classmates, I was able to communicate with a computer. And though oftentimes that communication is riddled with errors, I love that every single coding and debugging session is a chance for problem solving and learning from experience. While I continue to learn a myriad of languages and programming concepts from classes, the opportunities offered by Aspirations have exponentially increased my involvement in technology. For one, through NCWIT, the organization that runs Aspirations in Computing, I was involved in a program for middle school girls, teaching them many of the same computing principles that I learned in high school and encouraging their future exploration in STEM. Additionally, Minnesota Aspirations has provided me with many hands-on experiences to witness the power of technology applications in the real world through shadowing and internship programs. Like Amy, I am currently a summer intern at Optum, where I have the chance to rotate through several software development positions in the healthcare cloud team, working with many different mentors. Though it's only been a week, I have already learned so much about the product management and the collaboration between teams to create and improve cloud services for customers. I'm so excited to continue learning about the cloud, engaging in the entire development process, and creating my own capstone project at Optum. I'm confident this internship, along with the other experiences offered from Aspirations, will continue to be invaluable as my journey at college and beyond continues. Thank you for your time and congratulations again.
Amy, Katie, thank you both so much. We are so excited to have this time with you over the summer. Now, for our closing remarks, we have Heather Mickman. Heather is the Senior Vice President of Platform Engineering and Practices at Optum and is definitely someone that I look up to. Heather, take the stage.
Thanks, Kate, and good morning. So as Kate said, I'm Heather Mickman. I'm Senior VP for Platform Engineering at Optum, as Kate says. And what that means is I support teams that provide capabilities for our software engineers at Optum. And some of that's been talked about already this morning by Kate, Serena, Katie, and Amy. And so what we do is we provide capabilities to move data around in cloud platforms for our teams. And I love that I have the opportunity to work with wonderful women like Kate, Serena, Katie, and Amy. And I'll share a little bit about my journey in a bit. But I wanted to start by saying, you know, you all were selected for this award, and congratulations. I truly was astonished at the accomplishments that each and every one of you have already achieved. So just really, really, like, congratulations. It's truly inspiring to see. Your aptitude for technology will really set you apart in the workforce. And in fact, take time to recognize you've already set yourself apart from your peers. And it'll just continue to be a wonderful strength throughout your career. So a little bit about me and how, kind of what my journey has been to this point in my career. So I've been working in technology for more than 20 years. And when I say that out loud, sometimes I'm just like, wow, where did 20 plus years go? It feels like just yesterday. I graduated from Macalester College. At Macalester, I majored in economics and math and started at a company called Anderson Consulting at the time. It's now called Accenture. And I'd accepted that position after a summer internship with that organization and started in their San Francisco office. And I had always thought, I truly believed, and I think I've got a little stubborn nature in me as well. I truly thought I would go back to school to get my PhD in economics. And that's really how I had structured my coursework while I was at Macalester, was to position me for that type of career. But I found I had a ton of passion and truly loved working in technology. And the time that I was in San Francisco was during the late 90s. And that's when it was the original kind of .com boom and bust. So it was really an exciting time to be there. And I had the opportunity to work at a number of startups and some big tech firms while I was in San Francisco as well. Got to work across a lot of different industries because I was working at Accenture. It's a management consulting firm. And so I had to work in high tech manufacturing, glass manufacturing. I worked at a railroad company for a while, some transportation companies, and even in a biotech organization for a while. It was a really fun experience and a great way to spend my 20s, getting to just have a lot of different opportunities to try new things. But at the center of all of them was technology and building software solutions. And then, and I always say, like any good Minnesotan, I realized I actually missed my family. So I moved back to Minnesota to be closer to them and spent a couple of years actually working with my dad at our family business. And I had the realization while I was working there that I actually liked working at kind of bigger companies and that I really did miss working in technology. And while I did get to do some tech work while I was working with my dad, it wasn't at the core of what my job was. So then I started at Target. And I spent about 10 years of my career at Target working across all different parts of the technology organization there. And in my last 5 years while I was at Target, I was helping lead through the digital transformation of Target. And while it was so much fun, I learned so much while I was there. Initially, I led, as part in that transformation, led the API program. And prior to that program and that work, there weren't any APIs to access data at Target. And so that was truly foundational to Target.com and just that site that exists as it is today, all the mobile capabilities, real-time replenishment within the stores, warehouse automation, I mean, just kind of everything across the board, truly to enable Target to be a leading digital retailer. And doing all of that and leading a transformation in addition to the technology work really relit my career, relit my fire, I would say, mid-career. And it was also during this time that I really discovered a passion for the broader technology community. I started to do a lot of speaking at conferences and found out and discovered how much I really enjoy building community and discovering new things, building relationships, just kind of work every day was great and those relationships were wonderful, but I found I had a much broader perspective when I built that network. I'm now on the board of MiniStar, and that's a nonprofit that works to build the tech community in the Twin Cities here. We host a ton of events, mini demo, mini bar, and now we're doing a lot of virtual AMAs and rethinking all of these wonderful in-person events that we used to host and organize for the technology community, and how do we rethink those in times of COVID. I'm also an organizer for DevOps Days Minneapolis, so Serena talked about that. And we do monthly meetups there, although we've stopped doing the meetups in times of COVID. Just a lot is changing. And then in terms of, and then Optum. So I joined Optum about 3 years or so ago. And I made that move because I wanted to take my passion for technology, driving change, driving community, and apply that in the healthcare industry. And it's truly been an amazing experience to help improve healthcare. Wow, it's a complicated industry. I'll kind of say that, especially coming from retail. You know, retail is pretty straightforward to understand. Healthcare is very complex. And so it's been really a fascinating amount of learning over the last 3 years. And Optum has been lighting the world as well through this COVID crisis, and it's been fun to be part of a number of different efforts there. It's truly, I think, lit the fire in the healthcare industry, this COVID crisis, to really double down on digital experiences, you know, for us as patients and for our providers, for the, you know, for our doctors and our clinical workers. Been doing a lot of work to enable telehealth. A ton of work. There was the CARES Act that was passed a couple months ago to distribute, or the government was distributing $100 billion to our provider community. And this team that that we all work on helped to enable the distribution of those funds in that important time. So, so that's kind of how I got to where I am today. I'm really passionate about a lot, and in particular, I'm passionate about supporting women in technology and building diverse teams. And it's something that requires intention, I think, and so I say that out loud to all of you, of be intentional about that as you build teams, as you work on teams. And it's also, you know, one of the reasons why I was so excited to start this relationship with Minnesota Aspirations in Computing to help support all of you. I'm also one of the executive sponsors at Optum for our Women in Technology work, and it's really important work, and I'm proud to be a part of it. So thank you so much for your work in technology and taking this step, and for the difference you are already making. Like I said, I'm really proud for each and every one of you of all of your accomplishments, and I'm excited for your bright future ahead. I'd encourage each of you to continue to learn, find your passions, chase your passions, seek and find mentors, and in addition to mentors, seek and find sponsors. Sponsors are the people that will look out for you when you're not in the room. They'll help advocate for you and help grow your career. So I hope I have the opportunity to work with more of you in the future. And again, congratulations to each of you.
Thank you, Heather. I think everyone got to see what I've always found so inspiring of you. Thank you all for your time. Honorees, thank you for your achievements. I'm so excited to see what comes next. A special thanks to our sponsors as well. I believe we have a slide here. Perfect. Everyone in attendance, your feedback is important to us. In your email inbox is a link to a brief survey. Immediately after this, please take a couple of minutes to complete it. It really helps set us up for success for future conversations. Thank you. Honorees, don't go away quite yet, as we wish to take a group photo. Light your votive candle, and you will now be moved into a virtual space where we can take a screenshot of you and your bright smile.